Like, why prosthetics? Why didn't you go into one of those other areas?
We looked at over 200 needs, and the one that really stood out to us was this prosthetics need. Diabetes is the leading cause of leg amputation, so we met a lot of people with leg amputations. Vessel's like a ship, carries people through their lives. Most companies in prosthetics are private.
You can't replace part of the brain. Like,
you treat them the same.
Source of truth for the medtech industry.
Coexists with the puppets.
Robot understands things automatically.
Number one show in the medtech industry.
So Stryker got ahead of that and changed in the $90 billion company. They had held up high. A lot of things.
State of Medtech with your host, Omar M. Khatib.
What's going on, everybody? As you all know, I recently just got back from LSI. I saw a lot of pitches, and between being in person at LSI plus what I like to do on the weekends, which is LSI and chill, in terms of just watching YouTube videos of different pitches, a lot of them just end up like blurring together. And so there is always like a tiny, tiny handful that really stand out. This person's presentation really stood out for all the right reasons. I thought she was engaging and, more importantly, like really enthusiastic, believed in her product. I loved it. And joining us straight from Canada, Sydney Robinson, CEO and co-founder of Vessl Prosthetics. Sydney, great to have you on the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Omar, and for the absolutely killer intro. I really appreciate it.
Definitely. Absolutely. And, you know, one of the things that stood out about your presentation is, and I hope I don't offend anybody when I say this, but, you know, I've seen a lot of prosthetics over the years, but like they were all just boring, you know? And so yours really stood out mainly because you painted such a great picture about the pain point. And so, like, let's start there first of all. Like, before we get into the company and everything, and I'm going to plug it multiple times, but for those who are interested, you can learn more about her company at Vessl Pro. That's VESSL. So Vessl without the E. So VESSLPRO.com. So let's start with a little bit about your background. Like, who is Sydney Robinson? Where did you grow up? Where did you go to school? And then how did you end up starting Vessl?
Yeah. So I was born and raised in London, Ontario, Canada. So not the cool London, just London, Canada. Very different. And I always was very interested in prosthetics, in biomechanics, how the human body moves. So I grew up knowing that I wanted to be an engineer. I knew I wanted to be in the medical space. I just didn't really know where I wanted to be within that. And so when I did my undergrad and I got exposure to the prosthetic space, I really wanted to zone in there. I ended up doing a master's and actually focusing in wrist implants. So a little bit different, but it was after my master's that I got to dive back into prosthetics. So I did a 10.5-month program in Canada. It's modeled after Stanford's biodesign, if you're familiar with that one. So it brings...
Absolutely. Very, very well known. So Josh Macauer is a guest on the show. His episode's coming out, I think, in a couple of weeks.
Perfect. There you go. So watch that one first, or listen to that one first. And then you'll have context for what Stanford Biodesign is. But I loved that program. It was 10.5 months, all about entrepreneurship. And that was really where I got to explore a little bit more about prosthetics and ultimately what started the company.
Interesting. So why did you end up doing prosthetics? Because like your background, you did something, I believe in wearable finger sensors, right? You did something in ankle, something for wrist. You did like everything. So why prosthetics? Why didn't you go into one of those other areas?
Yeah, well, for us, when we were doing this program, we interviewed like over 60 clinicians. We looked at over 200 needs. And the one that really stood out to us was this prosthetics need. So we shadowed a doctor at a diabetes clinic. Diabetes is the leading cause of leg amputation. So we met a lot of people with leg amputations. And they were all struggling because their anatomical leg, the remaining leg from what had been amputated, changes size, just like yours and my body changes size from diet, exercise, gaining weight, losing weight. But it's changing size inside of a prosthetic leg that never changes size. And so that rubbed me the wrong way as an engineer. I was like, there's got to be better technology and a better solution out there than what they're currently using, which is they stop whatever they're doing, whether you're at the grocery store or school or your daughter's soccer practice. You take your leg off and you put a sock on. Like if shoes didn't fit and you just wore 3 pairs of socks, that same idea.
I always wondered. I always thought that they put the sock on because like their limb gets sweaty or something, or for grip purposes. So it's literally just so it fits.
It's just size.
I had
So
no idea.
imagine buying shoes. You really like them, but they don't have your size. So you buy 2 sizes up and then you just wear 4 pairs of socks every day. That's what they're doing.
Wow, that sounds like really uncomfortable and terrible. So like, well, is it uncomfortable? I mean, tell me like
Yeah.
what like what's that problem like? Because like I'm not an amputee, so I have no idea what that could feel like.
100%. It's one of those things where unless you know someone with an amputation, it can be a little bit hard to wrap your mind around. So we'll stick with the same shoe example. If you just wore one sock and shoes that were too big, your feet are going to move around. You're going to get blisters. Those blisters could get infected. And for people with leg amputations, especially if they got their leg amputation because of diabetes, those infections are very dangerous. So what ends up happening is not only are you super uncomfortable because you're developing blisters all the time, you're sinking down into your socket, really putting pressure on the end of that limb. But also, if they get infected, this can actually lead to another amputation. So if you had an amputation on your shin and it gets infected, they might have to amputate at your knee or above your knee. So you're constantly losing more of your leg, which is, as you can imagine, terrifying, debilitating, etc.
Got it. So tell us a little bit more about, I guess, the actual product. Like, why is it called why is it called Vessl, and how exactly does it work? And in a moment, I'll do a screen share. I'll bring up your product for those
Awesome.
who are watching on Spotify and YouTube. By the way.
Perfect. So Vessl, all of the credit goes to my co-founder. He's our creative genius. And he came up with Vessl for a couple of reasons. The first one was that for our earlier design, we were using hydraulics. So fluid vessels, that was kind of the play there. But really, especially right now, how it relates is vessels like a ship carries people through their lives. And we want to carry people through their lives with our prosthetics.
Oh, I like that. I like that.
Yeah.
Very cool. All right, so let's take a quick look
Great.
at the product. All right, here we go. So we're on the landing page here.
And we just
Let me.
redid our website, so it's so exciting
It
for me to
looks,
see it.
yeah, it looks great. By the way, I was just gonna say it's a really nice looking website.
Thank you. So this is, if you want to pause on Stevie up there, this
Oh
is
yeah,
Stevie Crawford. Stevie was the first amputee ever to try our socket on. He lives in Denver, Colorado, and he is a U.S. Navy veteran. So we're really, really thrilled that Stevie was able to try it on and give us some feedback.
that's awesome. Okay, so this is essentially the product here.
Yes. So you can see it's basically a mechanical disc, and it actually gets added to the bottom of the socket, as you can see there. So the whole innovation is that it's connected to these panels with a cable. What it's doing is as you
Oh,
twist the dial, or more accurately, this is a set screw for the prosthetist. I can talk about that in a second. But the real innovation is that with every step, you're using shock absorption from that step to pull on the cable and tighten custom panels against the leg. So it's always trying to maintain a consistent level of tension in the cable and therefore a consistent fit of the prosthetic on the leg
oh, so that way
automatically.
you don't just have something that's just tight, because then you have another problem, right? Because you have issue with
Exactly.
like vascular restriction and everything. Oh,
Exactly.
interesting.
And so relating it back to the socks, now you don't have to take your leg off and put a sock on if the socket gets loose. The socket is just going to adapt. So you don't have to stop, you don't have to think about it, you don't have to bring socks with you. And as you said, when it comes to swelling, there's a manual release button. So you just release the tension and it relaxes and you're good to go.
Fantastic. I love that. And
Thank you.
so so you call it adaptive volume management system.
Yes.
It's a
Yeah,
mouthful.
which is a mouthful.
Yeah. So you
So
guys raise money. Now you can, you can hire like some fancy marketing agency, and they can figure something out for you.
so far our
Shameless plug for
marketing
us.
hey, there's always good to
No,
have
but
a shameless plug in there.
at least I kind of had an idea of what it is, because I've seen worse on the engineering world. So at least this one is a little bit better. So I'll give you that.
We're trying our best. We're trying our best up here in Canada. So no, it's been basically you in the image there that you can see the unit is really kind of an addition to the prosthesis. So what's interesting about prosthetics is the easiest way to think about it is like Lego blocks. You can mix and match these different pieces and kind of attach them all to each other to create the whole leg.
Got it. Okay. And so my question to you, so right now So you guys are in Canada. By the way, I'm been really excited about a lot of the great innovations coming out of Canada. Seems like the government is also like very, very involved and very eager to see like more great innovation come out of Canada. So there's other companies I know from Canada, Synaptive, IntelliJoint. God, I'm gonna get a lot of like heat for forgetting some other ones.
It's all
But you
good.
guys- so
IntelliJoint was the one that I wanted to work at when I graduated. I wanted to work at IntelliJoint so bad.
Armin, you see, if Armin listens to the show, I'm gonna, Armin, you could have had like an all-star on your team, but no, it's probably better. You want to start at a company to help patients that IntelliJoint isn't focused on because they're more surgical.
Exactly. Well, and what's interesting is Armin, I actually don't know if I told him that I wanted to work at IntelliJoint, but Armin is I would consider to be a mentor of mine. So he runs a location. I don't think it's a program really, but a community, if you will, in Canada called the Medical Innovation Exchange. So after he
I've
started
heard about
IntelliJoint,
this.
yeah, it's fantastic. Like the most incredible community.
That's awesome. I got to come up to Canada to visit you guys.
Yeah, do it.
I know. So, on the investor side, so an investor is listening to this, like their first question that they want to is like, it's first of all, like because of the level of consumerism here in the States, everybody kind of wants to understand like what's the market opportunity in the United States. But maybe Canada really well. So tell us like what's the market opportunity for you guys in Canada? Who buys it? Who pays for it? And then maybe we can focus also on the US and globally. But I think like Canada and US will be a really good sort of litmus test, right? So tell us a little about the markets.
Yeah, for sure. So we actually are focused on the United States first as our primary market. And the reason for that is, believe it or not, the reimbursement in the States is more favorable and it's more consistent. So Medicare is the one that sets the limits in the US, and then private insurance and Medicare Advantage plans, different groups kind of follow along loosely sometimes, but follow along roughly to what the limits are that Medicare sets. And so with that very clear pathway, we figured the US, especially because of the larger population as well, would be a really good place for us to start. What was really exciting was this time last year, so right after LSI last year, a new reimbursement code was launched specifically for adjustable sockets. So not only showing the demand for these kinds of innovations in the space, but also creating a $500 million market segment that Vessl is poised to dominate. So we're really excited by what that means for the industry.
That's all. So tell me why is Vessl poised to dominate it though?
Really, it comes down to automatic adjustment. So we were talking about socks versus Vessl. When we look at what's available in the industry, still like 90% or more of folks are using these socks as volume management, a static socket, layer socks on for adjustments. You also have a few other innovations that are more mechanical adjustments. So it relies on the amputee to like reach down and twist a dial or pull on a ratchet strap, but the amputee is involved. The problem is that a lot of people who have like amputations have poor dexterity or sensation loss, like they actually can't feel the leg. So how are you supposed to know if a socket's too tight if you can't feel it? Sometimes they're part of the aging population. Sometimes they've got cognitive impairments. All of this makes it very difficult for people to access those solutions. So it works really well for the people that can access them, but it's not widely accessible. And so what we created was an adjustable socket, but one that automatically adjusts. So now anybody can use it because it doesn't rely on the patient to interact with the device.
Got it. So your average prosthetic right now, what does it cost versus what you guys are going to be selling it?
Yeah. So the way that it works is Vessl sells to the clinic, and then the clinic is reimbursed through insurance. So we don't have to interact directly with payers.
Oh,
really nice.
So you technically have a cash-based model.
We're business to business.
Yeah, a lot of investors are going to like that. Okay. And so then,
yeah, we like it too.
Okay. So then, what, again, you may not, this might be too early to ask you, but like, what is your wholesale pricing to the clinician? Is it competitive to, let's say, other prosthetic products? Yes. Okay.
Yes.
The benefit to the physician is like, even if they have to pay like a little bit more for yours, they're going to be able to get reimbursed at a much higher rate.
Exactly.
Okay.
So for us, compared to our competitor, we are selling at a premium, but we are eligible for 2 reimbursement codes where they're only eligible for
What are
one.
the what are the reimbursement codes?
So 5783, L5783 is the adjustable socket code.
And so
And then
are you
there's
guys
another one.
are you is Vessel the first one with an adjustable socket?
No, we're the first and only with an automatically adjusting socket, but there are manually adjustable sockets.
Okay, got it. Understood. Okay. So 5783 has been in existence for some time. What's the is that
For
or
1 year.
oh for 1 year. That's
That
literally okay.
that was the one that got
Oh,
passed
okay.
last year. And then there's a
Oh, okay.
second one, L5988, and that one's for shock absorption. So if I may toot my own horn, the real genius behind the way that we're doing the adjustable socket to make it automatic is we're taking 2 concepts that prosthetists are already familiar with. So we're reducing the barrier to entry by choosing something that they're familiar with and that they know how to build. So paneled sockets, sockets that have panels on them, and shock absorbers. And we're mixing those 2 things together to create this automatic adjustment.
Got it. And I guess in the past I had to like buy one or the other and like mix and match and stuff.
Exactly. And there was no way to connect a shock absorber to a socket to use it for volume management. Shock absorbers in the past, they've existed for a while, but they are exclusively for shock absorption.
And volume management is literally just, the prosthetic is on the limb and it compresses and decompresses. Okay.
Exactly.
Why do you call it volume management?
Interesting. The socket, a prosthetic socket, is kind of like a cup. So they talk about the volume of the socket.
Oh, I see. So that's specific to the prosthetist. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. Understood. So then, okay. So this is it's a really interesting business model too, because I like business models in medtech where you have a very straightforward way of making money. And then if there's an economic story that's going to resonate with the end user, whether it's the clinician or hospital, like you got a serious home run.
100%.
Let me ask you, and again, like, as a founder, like, you just finished, congratulations on like closing your latest round and everything. But like, you probably got like a lot of no's, a lot of people who didn't give you, and so and look, I'm just going to say it myself. I bet a lot of people overlooked you or didn't even take the meeting because it's just a prosthetic company. It's not something super, super sexy. Am I correct in saying that?
Oh, 100%. I mean,
what were some of the rejections you like did,
well,
I think, did we talk about this at LSI? Like really, really like.
I don't think we dove into it, but you nailed it right there with your first comment, which was it's not seen as a sexy industry. So even orthopedic surgeons, you end up having to amputate a limb, and a lot of people think of it as like the end point. That's it. We've amputated the limb, end of story. But for the people who got their leg amputated, that's not the end of their story at all. That's not the end of their journey. And so you need these new innovations. And it might not be sexy, but there's a lot of really cool stuff going on in prosthetics. I think it's becoming increasingly sexy. I would say that one of the biggest misconceptions around the prosthetics industry is that it is like a small niche industry. I would say it's definitely a world unto itself. It operates differently than a lot of classic med tech. The big players in the space are not Medtronic or Stryker, so
right,
that's
they're
very
not.
different.
Yeah, because I like got involved a long time ago with Exo Bionics, which is a little bit different. But just learning about that whole space of like prosthetics and paralysis stuff, it's a completely different world. Companies I've never even heard of.
Totally different. It's like rehabilitation, I would say, is kind of the overarching.
There we go.
Yeah, that would connect us with the company you just mentioned, right? Like rehab.
Got it. So then, like in the United States alone, like how many amputees are there roughly?
There's about 6 million people living with some level of limb loss or limb difference. And of those, around 2 million of them are people that we would consider kind of key targets, people that are eligible for a prosthetic. We focus on folks that need prosthetic legs, so people with prosthetic legs. And there's 185,000 new amputations every year.
Every year? What are the majority of them from? Like, is it military? Is it like from accidents?
It's diabetes.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. Like
Got
majority as in like 70 to 80%, depending on which citation you use.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
But globally, still a diabetes is the leading cause. But globally, there's obviously also a lot of civil unrest going on right now. And so my co-founder is Ukrainian. We're very focused on helping Ukraine and doing what we can to, once our sockets are ready for sale, doing what we can to deliver those solutions to the folks that need it.
Yeah, and I'm just looking it up right now, and courtesy of our partners over at LSI, which is trusted market intel for the industry and for investors. So, like, global lower limb prosthetics market is got a CAGR about 4.7 to 5%, which is a really good CAGR actually.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
It's a lot higher than I was expecting.
It's very steady growth, and it's only increasing. Like they're expecting within the next decade that the prosthetics market's actually going to triple. So that CAGR is growing rapidly.
Interesting.
Mhm.
Huh. Wow, I did not know that.
I know it's like it's a not talked about industry, if that makes sense, but it's very much a prominent growing industry.
So, like, right now, when you look at, you just raised some money. So, how does it work? You have to go through the FDA, right? Where are you guys in your regulatory pathway in the US?
We're a class one medical device, so it's just an online registration process. So we're going to be
So it's
filing
like
for that.
easy peasy.
Easy
Okay,
peasy.
great. So that means like you'll be ready to start selling when?
Later this year.
That's awesome. Okay,
Yeah,
great, great.
wild.
Walk us through a little bit. Like, how do you what's your beachhead market? Like, who's the tip of the spear, as they say?
Yeah. So the beachhead market in terms of, because we've got like end user and we've got customer, right? So the prosthetists or the clinicians that we're really focused on are the people who are using those manually adjustable sockets or people that are using new technology in general, because they would be open to trialing new devices like ours. The advantage we have here is that we already have someone as an advisor, a clinical advisor, Trace Wright, who has had decades of experience in the industry as a clinician, but he also worked for a startup called Extremity when they were a startup and actually helps them launch their product in the market. So he's got a lot of really key relationships, and we're going to be using those kind of network of relationships as well as the ones that we've developed for some of those early adopters. And then on the patient side, it is people of really any cause of amputation as long as their limb is currently healthy. And it helps mostly people that have some like change in their leg size. So those are our kind of beachhead opportunities.
Got it. When you start marketing, are you like how much of, because again, it's interesting. You're B2B, but
Yeah.
technically in a roundabout way, you're kind of B2B to C. So do you start thinking about like patient marketing, running like paid ads, Instagram, Facebook, and everything, right? So
It,
you run. Okay.
it's such a good question because right now I'm super active on LinkedIn because that's where I can interface the most with prosthetists and with investors. I will start to get more active, or I should say we will start to get more active on Facebook and on Instagram as we get closer. What's interesting is we are a B2B product, but as you said, the end user is the amputee. So they have an influence. The way that it works in prosthetics is you've gone through this really traumatic event, which was the amputation. And now you're trying to get a prosthetic leg and you don't know what the difference is between an Oser foot and an Ottobock foot and a Philauer foot and all these different feet. And your prosthetist is the expert. So your prosthetist will say, hey, Omar, based on your weight, based on your level of activity, based on your goals, I would recommend that we go with this leg configuration. And you as the amputee go, okay, you probably know best. So oftentimes what happens is the prosthetist is the one that's making that recommendation. The amputees in general do see quite a bit online. Like there's a lot more, which is great, a lot more conversation going on online and kind of sharing of different experiences, which I'm really excited to see. But it just means that we are still relying on the prosthetist primarily to make product recommendations and ultimately choose what product they're giving their patient.
Got it. Got it. So then, I mean, if you were to run ads and let's say some patients saw your prosthesis, but it wasn't available in their area, like, do you have a way of catching those? Like, what can you do with that?
What can I do with people who are interested in trying the device?
Yeah, so like, let's say you run ads and some patients, let's just say you run a, national Facebook, ad campaign, not so hard, a few $1,000, you're fine. And just out of the blue, like Billings, Montana, there's like, 5 or 6 patients there who are asking about this prosthetic. Like, what do you do with that? Do you have a way of catching them? Do you take that and go to, some clinics and say, hey, like, we have these patients, we would like to sell you these prosthetics, and then you use that kind of to like leverage your way into clinics, or like, what
For
can you
sure.
do? Okay.
Yeah, we could definitely do that. So one way that would happen is there's lots of ways to reach out to us. I mean, on social media, but also on the website, there's kind of become a provider for clinicians, but there's also a button to actually get on the wait list now, but it will be to try one of the devices. So if folks in Billings, Montana are interested in trying the socket, then they would be able to reach out through the website, and we would ask them to connect us with their prosthetist so that we can work with them to deliver that solution.
Got it. Got it. Do you feel like, I mean, because I don't know the space. So when you talk about a prosthetist, are they mainly part of an orthopedic practice, or are they standalone? So I'd imagine mainly
Standalone.
orthopedic. Oh, standalone, really?
Yeah. So the
Oh,
easiest way to think about it is like a physiotherapy clinic or like a registered massage therapy clinic. Like it's its own
mm,
space.
interesting.
Yeah.
Is there a world where you sell directly to orthopedic clinics? Because like these larger orthopedic clinics here in the United States are getting bigger. They're trying to have like physical therapy. They're trying to own like the whole patient journey, right?
Well, actually, that's a really good point, Omar. So there are some groups that will have prosthetists come in to like the orthopedic center and have, like Wednesdays is prosthetics days. That was how we discovered the problem. So we were shadowing this doctor at a diabetes clinic, and he had a prosthetist come on Wednesdays for his patients that needed prosthetics. So there is a little bit of overlap. The difference is that if we're thinking like orthopedic surgeon, they're not the ones, they perform the amputation, but they're not the ones that are intimately familiar with the different prosthetic product offerings. So they don't provide any recommendations typically on which prosthetic to use. It's all up to the prosthetist.
Is there, I mean, is there a patient who would not be a fit for your product? Who's not a fit?
Yeah. So right now, um, the device, as you saw online, has what they call a build height, right? It takes up vertical space. And you only have so much space from where the amputated leg ends and where the floor is. So if someone has a really long residual leg and you only have a very small amount of space between the end of their leg and the floor, then you have to be very stringent with your space, your vertical space. So you might only have space for a foot. But the shorter the limb is, the more space you have to add kind of fancy components. So there is going to be like a limb length requirement in order to use our device. But aside from that, pretty much anybody else, like any age, any reason for amputation, there will be a weight limit. But aside from that, pretty much anybody could use it.
Okay. You gave me an idea for a really interesting question, which I have no idea why I've never asked this question before. But here's my question to you: is like, let's pretend an investor's listening to this and they come and just, I don't know, they make a charity donation and they're going to give you like 100 mil, like just a lot of money.
Whoa.
Okay. Well, what would you do with that money?
I would set aside some of it for kind of what I was mentioning before, like almost philanthropic. I mean, if it was a donation, clearly philanthropy is something they're interested in.
Oh yeah, you
So
got to use it. You got to use it on the business. You got to use it on the business.
I agree. But I would use it to kind of augment some of the costs to deliver devices to
I see.
folks in Ukraine or something like that.
Got
A
it.
portion would go to that. I would say the biggest use of funds would be kind of three pillars. Again, this isn't earth shattering in the sense of most businesses should kind of spend their money this way, but I would pour money into R&D to develop new devices, really keep our company on the cutting edge of new technology, delivering new devices that people really would benefit from. I would spend it on manufacturing so that we can increase the number of devices we're able to bring onto the market. And then I would spend it on sales. And I would really grab a bunch of different sales reps who are absolutely fantastic at their jobs and who love to travel. And I would have them travel all around the US and Canada. Obviously hire them in their local regions, but have them travel around and really drive adoption for these devices.
Got it. Is there a world where would this be even possible? Which is you, no offense to prosthetists, but this is an investment show, so I have to ask. But like, is there a world where, for example, I've been hearing, there's more suit companies where I think it's like Suitco or something. They send you a tape measure and some instructions. You measure, you send the stuff back, and then they send you the suits, and you just try on whatever you want. You keep whatever you want. So, is there a world where you can essentially have enough money to market this directly to patients? Like, kind of like, I mean, I think Invisalign works that way from Align Tech.
Yeah.
Could you technically do that?
Like Invisalign for legs.
Yeah. So sexy.
It's so
Look,
sexy.
you're gonna raise $1 billion now because of that.
In theory, yes, there's definitely a way that you could do it. The problem that I see is threefold. The first is that reimbursement goes through clinicians.
Oh, yep. No,
right?
There you go. That you
So,
just killed that idea. That's one.
Second one is that typically people that have like amputations are part of lower socioeconomic status. So even if you say, well, screw reimbursement, we'll just have everyone pay out of pocket. Oftentimes that's a huge barrier, especially when a leg can cost anywhere from $10,000 to hundreds of thousands of dollars for a whole leg. And then the last one is usability. So all of these sockets are custom made, right? Like your shin bone might be pointier. I highly doubt it, but might be pointier than my shin bone. I have a very sharp shin bone, so I highly doubt it, but it could be. And so every person's leg is so different. A prosthetist knows what modifications to make sure you're holding on to the leg in the right spots in order to keep you elevated. And so it would be very difficult, I think, for an amputee or someone with an amputation, I should say, to make those modifications themselves.
What if Vessl started generating revenue, and then you guys decide to either acquire and or open your own prosthetics,
Yep.
like physical location. You employ the prosthetist, and so now you're essentially selling to yourself and then getting reimbursement. Could that work?
You're just going to start taking over the industry, Omar. This was actually something that they tried in the industry.
By the way, I'm very happy to be gifted equity. Dermacenter gifted me equity. Like I was shocked by that. So I always tell founders, like, if I helped you, like, don't be afraid to gift me equity. But no, I'm joking. Sorry,
Don't be shy. Give me some percentage of the company.
But see, look, this is why I had you on the show. Again, like, I see a lot of founders, I see a lot of pitches, and I was like, Sydney's a star. I need her on my show.
I need her on the show, and I need her equity. No. No, I really appreciate it.
Raise a gazillion dollars and give me a testimony like this all happened because I went on State of Medtech.
If that happens, I absolutely will give you all the credit.
I better get like a fruit basket or something, Okay. All right. Back to brass tacks. Okay. So sorry, going back. So yeah. So like, is that a possibility? Like, where you can either partner or you can buy out? Like for example, like have sort of a, and the reason why I'm asking, like, all jokes aside, is that I think there's this really interesting opportunity, that bridges medical device / medtech into the consumer world. Right.
For sure.
And so, like, I know that they're doing this a lot in the dental world. Right. Mm-hmm. So certain dental prosthetic, companies, etc., they're starting to like open up their own little clinics and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And so I wonder if there's like a way where Vessl, maybe through brand and everything, you have this like, like the Apple of lower limb prosthetics experience, and you have like some stores set up just in like major metropolitan areas.
Oh no, you're absolutely right. So the way that the market is kind of built out right now is that there are clinics and clinic organizations, just like you were saying in the orthopedic space, they're just getting bigger and bigger and bigger and buying up more and more locations. And then you have the manufacturers. And what has started to happen is what you were just talking about, where these groups are starting to mold together. So the large clinic organizations like Hanger, for example, are acquiring manufacturers. So Hanger acquired Fill-Hour, and a bunch of other kind of manufacturing companies. And then you have the manufacturers who a few years ago started buying up clinics. So Ottobock, which is, the biggest, one of the biggest, if not the biggest, manufacturer worldwide of prosthetic devices. And they started acquiring all these different clinics in the US, and they call it Ottobock Care. And so, just as you're saying, it's this string of clinics that are owned by Ottobock. So they are starting to bridge the gap, I would say, between the consumer side of things and the manufacturing side.
And how do you spell Ottobock?
Ottobock.
Okay. And is Ottobock a private or public company?
Ottobock is private.
Yes, they are private.
Most companies in prosthetics are private. It makes research very exciting.
Got it. Okay. So then, I found Ottobock on LinkedIn. They're out of, where are they out of? Like
Germany is their headquarters, but they're out of everywhere.
Okay. And then, and so this is a pretty large company. They got 3,700 employees. So in terms of like your strategy and exit opportunities, like Ottobock would essentially be that acquirer. Who's the other Ottobock in the industry?
There's a bunch. So there's a few kind of really big companies, Ottobock being one of them for sure. Össur is another really big company. So OSSUR.
Oh, I think I've heard of Össur.
Yeah, they're out of Iceland.
Okay, got it.
And then there's a bunch of other companies that are kind of like big up and coming companies, have been around for a long time. I don't know if you'd call it middle market companies, but they're certainly big and growing rapidly. And so some of those that come to mind are Proteor, which was a France-based company that also has US headquarters as well. Willowwood is another large one. So there are a bunch of different large scale manufacturers that are frequently acquiring smaller companies.
Okay, got it. That's fascinating. So I really like what you have here. I mean, first of all, there's a great clinical need. And what I like about the product and what you're doing is that it's something that like is sort of, it can be immediately felt by a patient, right? Mm-hmm. So like some of the other devices and things that we've seen, the patient's going to benefit, but it's not something that they like are consciously aware of. But this is something that somebody's consciously aware of, So I can just imagine, just for you guys to run ads or to market a little bit, there's gonna be patients who say, "Oh my God, like yes, I'm sick and tired of like, a prosthetic that does not fit me very well."
Oh, 100%. The quote for me that really stands out of like, okay, this is clearly something that we need to bring to market, was when I was speaking with a woman who had a leg amputation, and she said she would rather suffer than wear socks. And so there's these people that would rather be in a wheelchair and or suffer in their socket than use the current best standard of care, which is sock management.
Interesting. Wow. Well, that's pretty, it's really exciting. And then for the rest of the year, so you finished your raise, but are you going to be attending, what conferences do you guys go to? Are you going to be attending any conferences so a clinician or maybe an investor might want to meet up with you?
Absolutely. So the main clinician conference that we're going to is first week of September. We're going to AOPA, the American Orthotic and Prosthetic Association. They have their annual trade show. So that'll be first week of September. We've got a booth.
Where's that happening at?
It is in Orlando, Florida.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah,
nice.
Yeah. September 3rd to 6th. So I'm sure it will be absolutely cooking down there.
Sweet.
In September. But no, it'll be lots of fun. So that is, trade show. So we'll have a booth there. We'll be on a panel. We're going to have a talk. So we're kind of going all out for that one. And then a few smatterings of conferences here and there in the fall, but that's our major one that we're pouring our hearts into this year.
Fantastic. Awesome. Well, Sydney, first of all, like congratulations on all the great success. I'm really excited to kind of follow along and watch you guys. And thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you so much, Omar. I really appreciate it. It was such a pleasure, and I'm excited to chat with you again soon.
Absolutely. And for those listening, go give Sydney a follow on LinkedIn. She's active on there. Follow Vessl. And if you're a clinician or an investor, or you know somebody who might benefit from this episode, forward it on to them. You can check them out at Vessl Pro. That's VESSLPRO.com. As always, I'm your host, Omar Khatib. We'll see you all next time. Thanks for checking out this episode. If you want to do me a big favor and join so many other people who have helped grow this podcast, take a second and look below. If you're on Apple, give us 5 stars and write a short review. If you're on Spotify, just give us 5 stars. And if you're on YouTube, hit the like button. And most importantly, if you can, subscribe. We release so many different episodes that you may miss. Be sure to subscribe and turn your notifications on. You get extra points with me if you subscribe across all 3 channels. Thank you so much. And if you felt like this episode helped you, send this to somebody who would really enjoy and appreciate it. Share and spread the love. We'll see you all next time.